Huh. Bug's Life pancakes. I wonder what these taste like.
America.
Yes, we're going there. 3 months ago, I had planned to make and release a video centered on freedom. Oh, say, as you can see, it is not the 4th of July. It is, in fact, the 14th of when my Creative Cloud subscription expires. Yes, it took some time, but that's what a whole load of free time does to a person. They do nothing. Why do I bring this up? Because this is
not going to go the way you think.
Regardless, I shall prepare the quantum leap to connect liberty, human rights, and every other word for freedom with A Bug's Life. Now, I know what you're thinking. What? But if you hear me out for a couple of minutes, you too will see just how far the anthill goes, especially when it comes to the film's thematic use of freedom. For this movie is all about freedom. And while other viewers may point out the importance of the seeds or the message of standing up against tyranny, I'm not going to, because this movie isn't really about that. Well, okay, it is, but only in the same way that a birthday cake is about frosting. As tasty as that is, it is merely the surface. So, I hope this dive into A Bug's Life will encourage y'all to look back at this film and many other films so much closer that you'll say to yourself, wait a minute. This is Über-Analyzing, A Bug's Life, with Kyle Kringle. As I am sure many of you already know, A Bug's Life is about an extorted colony of ants eventually rising up against their oppressors, the Grasshoppers. In their first scene, the Grasshoppers enter the story as a swarming entity of ominous flight. Now, visually speaking, their first introduction is stomping right into the home of the ants. Okay, within 40 seconds, we the audience already understand the two most important details about who the Grasshoppers are in the story. First, they are flying creatures. Yes, obvious, but this is in contrast to the flightless ants. Grasshoppers have flight, and therefore a better grasp of freedom.
Oh yes, that intro was relevant, wasn't it?
But that's important. Flight is the reason the Grasshoppers are able to visit Ant Island annually. Simply put, they can go and do things the ants cannot do. Their flight gives them freedom. I recommend this video by now you see it.
Flying is freedom. Let's do some closer readings of flying in film.
Let's! With their ability to fly understood, the second aspect about the Grasshoppers' relationship to the ants is their feet. Stomping holes into the anthill reveals how the Grasshoppers use their freedom to control and to suppress the ants, to walk all over them. That is, to a T, the relationship Hopper's gang maintains each year. Plus, listen to how Hopper leaves the island.
Let's ride!
Let's hear that again. Now, to me, this is clearly
Motorcycle noises.
that's about as clear-cut an American symbol of freedom that one can get, and that's the conflict. The bugs with freedom are using said freedom to control those who have less. I say less instead of none because of the queen ants, Ada, Dot, and...
Oh, don't tell me.
Queen.
The queens have flight, and like a good queendom, they use their freedom to lead the colony on the right path. Because, after all, with great freedom comes great response.
Don't you dare finish that sentence. Don't.
So if at this point you are questioning how relevant, let alone how prevalent, flight is within the bug's life, let's start from the very beginning. Here is the opening shot of the entire film. Did you see it? Let's go back. You see that? Do you know what that is?
A bird.
Yes! Flight is literally the first shot of the movie. That bird, that page one moment of the highest, purest form of freedom sets the stage for the entire rest of the story. After this, the Grasshoppers arrive, then they leave. When Flick leaves the island, he rides a dandelion seed, which does not fly, because ants do not have their own freedom yet. But they get something close, a gentle glide down to the city.
City!
Now, I could dissect this shot of the winged bug with the Christmas lights being the literal source of guidance in the city, but I won't. Instead, I'll focus on this world's version of a panhandler. This bug is living off the streets because some kids strip him of his faculties.
Flight, freedom.
Is so central to this world that it's that losing it is tantamount to homelessness. And something you wouldn't get from the Seven Samurai or the Magnificent Boar is the fact that both the gang of bullies and the warriors can fly. In order for Flick to fight back against freedom abused, he needs to find bugs with freedom of their own. And what do you know? Half of them fly.
I think the pill bugs both count as one entity, thus giving us...
The Bugnificent Seven?
Let's recap. The presence of flight is used quite intentionally. From the bird hint at the beginning, to the droning doom of the grasshoppers, to the attempted defiance of gravity with the dandelion to the bum bug, and now the circus bugs confused with warriors with power. We ain't even getting started yet.
Say that again.
It's at this point in thinking about this theme theory that I came to the same level of excitement that Flick does when Ada says this.
Hopper's afraid of birds, and I don't blame him.
And let me tell you, it got me thinking. Why does that excite me so much? Because it makes too much sense. Hopper is not a practically minded villain. He is a straight-up extortionist who chooses not to work for himself, exploiting what little freedoms the ants have to serve him. Purely to serve him.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
Thus, Hopper is driven only to oppress because he believes that's just how the world should be. He takes delight in extortion for survival and using his ability to fly, his freedom, as a way to keep the ants from ever ascending, in any way you use that term. So then the bird. Why is Hopper afraid of birds? Because the bird is the only creature with freedom he cannot control for himself. What greater example of flight can bugs comprehend compared to the gigantic, ever-hungry bird? This bird is the essence of freedom herself in her purest form. Like so, she is extremely scary to the bugs, a perfection of a concept that all critters dream of but can never fully attain. While the movie may celebrate the freedom for us to burrow our own tunnels in life, the bird supplants the truth about freedom, that there is such a concept as too much of it, and how terrifying an entity without clear limitations can be. This is why the bird is the perfect thing to make Hopper fearful, and that's why recreating the bird is not only the best plan, it's also perfectly symbolic of a successful revolution.
Revolution! Get ready!
And the kids are like, I'm ready.
I said successful revolution. The ants may have the queens to give them guidance, but it's in the construction of the bird that essentially establishes a new government. The construction of the bird is just as groundbreaking in world to the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. This bird is meant to make them ants independent from the ass-grappers, for it not only scares them into retreat, it's literally a recreation of their understanding of what freedom is. By this new bird, with the help of the circus bugs, the ants establish the kind of life they wish to live for themselves, free from the grasshopper footstepping on their island. After all, these are the ant
Colonies.
Anyways, here's why I'm right. Hopper's great sin was using his freedom to abuse an entire colony of ants. That is why he dies by the bird. But here's where it gets interesting. He's not simply eaten by the creature with the freedom he cannot have, but rather, he is fed directly to the babies of the symbol of pure freedom, meaning he was not merely canceled out by the higher animal with greater flight, rather he is food for the next generation of liberation. This is because freedom will persist, and the concept of rights will never be erased from the living experience. Pure freedom can never be fully eradicated or fully conquered, so it must therefore be granted for all to partake in while we are still alive to enjoy it.
Now let's move out.
And that concludes our broadcast day.
Or does it?
While the main point of this video has been laid out, there is one more element of A Bug's Life story that I wish to tackle.
Circus bugs. How can you be circus bugs?
Actually, Flick, the question is, why are they circus bugs? I bring this up as an encouragement to the other creators on this platform. You see, it was not the warriors that defended the ants. Not soldiers, not killers, and certainly not samurai. No, what saves the ants from tyranny, bullying, and the kind of fear that cripples their ability to flourish in their own strength is not the warriors. It's the entertainers. It's the freaks of the circus who utilize their differences to defend Dot from the bird. It's the circus bugs who use their diverse strengths to construct the bird, the great symbol of hope for the ants. And it's the 7 circus bugs who, through pure entertainment, save the queen and allow for the scouts to finalize the primary mission. And they're actually good at it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always an intellectual treat.
Bugs save the queen.
In all seriousness, it is the people who provide laughter, hope, and unorthodox solutions who are the true heroes. Entertainers are vital to any culture's sense of self-determination and perseverance. Without them, we would have very little desire to continue on. It'd be much harder to endure the hardships of life. Without a short escape, we will not ever find our sense of clarity. And without a little weirdness, we risk being complacent in the way things shouldn't be. So, let's celebrate our fellow entertainers. And let us remember how their contributions to society are what keep it lively and, most importantly, free. This has been
Über-Analyzing.
A Bug's Life with Kyle Kringle. And I'll see you later.
Good day to you, sir. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's a bird.